Hello everyone in New Zealand. If you don't know me, my name's Kieran. I'm an ex-commercial fisherman in New Zealand. I used to catch crayfish, netting for species like butterfish, waterfowl, of the likes, deep water lining for harpooker, bass, ling, shark, that sort of thing, mainly based in the Cook Strait. So I don't come from a fishing family at all. I have no history in it at all, apart from I was a wharf rat that wanted to basically catch more fish and be legal, and natural sort of progression took me to commercial fishing because I thought, hey, I can do what I love on the weekends and after school. I can do it for a job. So then that naturally progressed into getting my skipper's ticket with the sea time that was needed, and then working on various boats and getting taught by some amazing skippers, like really good guys. That was about 20 years ago. Things were a little bit different. Fuel was cheaper. I think at the time we were paying about 60 cents a litre, thereabouts, for diesel. The price of fish was sort of no different to now, but the running costs were a lot less, and the system was still the same, the quota management system. So you had guys that owned quota and who were fishing it themselves. Now, for the most part, they got that quota by historical rights. In the inception of the quota management system, they were given quota based on their catch history that went through the books, and at that time they took your history and they gave you an allocated amount for the area and the type of species that you caught. Some people at the time thought it was a big joke and didn't know, thanks to hindsight, because it's a beautiful thing, that it was actually going to be worth so much more 20 years down the track. You could say, well, boo-hoo them, but this was going to back 40 years, I think it was. The 86 was the quota management system. I'm not too sure, someone can correct me on that. But these guys, good on them, stuck at it and held on to their quota, and you beauty, they got themselves a really good high value asset. Now those assets became very important as time went on, because the cost of living, the running costs, slowly crept up with inflation and all the rest of it. To keep the ownership in their hands, they would be very coy about what they were doing and how they're doing it, and this is still today. But with the thanks of social media and video cameras and that sort of thing, we can now look at what commercial operators are doing. So the government has allocated all these fish stocks to individuals, iwi, and fishing companies. And what fishing companies have done is they've taken on this quota, held on to it, and therefore it's become an asset that's increased in value, and then they can use that value to leverage to buying other assets, whether it's more quota, materials, property. Just getting lending is a lot easier for them. So it's very nice, a bit like buying a house and seeing the value go up. Same as with iwi, they've done the same, but the sad reality of it all is no one actually gets to see the increase of the value apart from the owner, and the owner being iwi individuals or fishing companies. And with these increases, no dividends paid to Māori at all. Someone can correct me on that, but the fishing industry makes $1.5 billion every year. Now 15% of the population is Māori. Quick maths, can't really do it that fast, but I don't see any of that 15% of the population getting paid any of that dividends. Not even if it's 40%, which is Māori ownership. Where is that, 600 million going to? And that's just on profit. So no one's actually getting any of this money apart from the big companies, the iwi leaders, and individuals. That's all good and very well and good. That's business. We can't really change that. Recreational folk look at the state of the fishery by what's coming up in the nets or what's coming on the hooks, or their day-to-day catch. Now, even commercial guys have bad days fishing. So if you see an empty net, it's just a poor shot. If you see an empty long line, it's a poor shot. There'd be many reasons for it. It's a feast and famine type situation. A good commercial operator would have consistency behind his catches, but he'll also have the understanding that there's going to be poor catches and good catches, day to day, week to week, month to month. They would mitigate their time away, where they're fishing, due to weather, due to many different reasons. If you're looking at, say, an individual that owns quota, they have a bit of control to where and when they would go and catch their quota. They would also have a bit of say in being priority to get leverage in leasing that quota. So then they would go to the bigger factories, crayfish companies or fishing companies or whatever that may be, and say to them, hey, look, I have X amount of quota that I can land through your company, but I want to catch more. Do you want to lease it to me? So then they'll set up an arrangement to keep those guys with some extra quota so they don't undercatch, to keep their business going. So they're in cahoots with each other. It's a monopoly. And that's not a lack of a better term, that's exactly what it is. And this is just all on the back of the system and what it is. Now, the quota management system works to a degree. Any catch limit's going to work. Any catch limit's going to control some stock. But what the government has put into power is these big companies or quota owners or asset holders. They give them the power into where and when and what to do with that stock. If there starts to be a decline in the catch, they'll try to offset it by sending more boats to the area and raising the catch effort and the landing return to try to get the stocks caught to a point where it reflects a healthy fishery. Now, some of the stocks have been set probably like a little bit too unscientifically, but we can only do what we can do. We're only human, and science can only go so far. What really is the issue here is we have these bigger companies, these bigger asset holding companies that are going over and above the percentage threshold that they are actually allowed to have in their holdings. So you could take a big individual company, for example, we won't name any names, but you can pluck in as many as you want. If they have too much quota in an area, if they have it all in their name, they wouldn't be allowed to hold that amount. So what they do is they offset it to an asset holding company. And then that goes to that asset holding company, so it looks separate from that main company. So therefore, they don't have too much control of that quota for that area. So therefore, they're working around the system. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we've got a position now where it's so sewn up that we can't actually get any quota to new fishers into the industry. It's by family right or historical right that the quota will get passed along to, or if you have a chunk load of money to throw at it just to be in the game. Money talks. Yes, it's business, I understand that, but what the issue is we have in New Zealand is we're looking at all of these factors, and the loud people who are denying the fact that there is an issue with the quota management system, and there's an issue with catch rates, and there's an issue with anything to do with commercial fishing. They're actually the ones that are either catching the quota, colluding or in cahoots with these big companies or asset holders or iwi, and they don't want to ruin their cash cow. It's been going along for quite some time, so they don't want to ruin it, and they're more than happy to shout from the top of the hill to say that you're wrong. Well, recreational data is non-existent, so there's no real leg to stand on for the recreational fishers to have a go towards commercial fishers. So no data, no way of really sort of having a rebuttal in the debate. Now, I will remind you that I am both recreational and commercial, and I just want to see fairness and transparency. We're not going to be able to change the quota management system and the ownership that is that's currently here now. But as of today, if you want to go fishing on a commercial fishing boat, just as a deckhand, you need virtually zero qualifications. Zero. To skipper a vessel, you need to have obviously the appropriate skipper's ticket and the likes to run that vessel. But we do have a choice here to use that as a chance to stop the monopoly. I feel, after being in the industry for so many years, that it's not about the fish, it's about the people. The people own the resource. The big companies, the fishermen, everyone, we don't fence it, we don't farm it, we don't do anything. We go out and catch it. That's recreational and commercial. We're all to blame, we're all taking. But how about if we took within our means and having consistent and precise data as we go along? Now, we can't have these figures without sort of having some collateral damage. You can't have, you can't see a declining fish rate of a fish stock without having a catch history. So it's kind of like a baptism by fire. We can't get these figures without having a decline. The good thing is the quota management system looks at this decline and does something about it. Some fisheries do it better than others. The crayfish fishery is really good at looking after their numbers, and that's because it's a high value product, and they want to take care of their high value product and put everything they can, all the resources and all the mitigation, to make sure that they can have a sustainable business in years to come. So they will do quota shelving, periodically throughout the science that they've found over several years, that the fish stocks, I should say, are going to be in a decline just by way of history. Now that's for many different environmental reasons, but they're just doing it as a fail-safe to protect themselves. Now, going back to what I was saying, if we could get qualified guys to call the shots on the boats. Now, the rule should be those who fish it should own it, or at least be able to lease it. Have a boat that's in survey, qualified staff on board. Now, in the rural sector, like Chatham Islands, far north, East Coast, East Cape, just anywhere where there isn't basically a university nearby, or colleges, or places of higher learning, to give these guys who are growing up with fishing, it doesn't give them a chance to escape the rhetoric, which is you won't be able to be the skipper or the owner of that boat because you don't have family history in owning that quota. You don't have any say in having a possibility of a future. if the rule was such that the boats can't set sail without approved crew, now that could be in forms of safety, with rules and regulation for the methods that you're doing. If you don't have those approved guys, the boat can't set sail. Right now, you can get any old drunk from the pub, pull him by his collar, chuck him on the deck of your boat, and you can set sail. It gives no aspiring youth the chance to go and try to be better, to better themselves, because all they've got to aspire to be is a drunk that can just do any old job. So if we could make it where the guys that are fishing right now on the deck of the boats, who can show sea time, who can show that they have been at sea on these boats, let's do something what we did in the 80s, and let's give them qualifications, providing that they can show their history, that they've been at sea, that they've got some experience. Let's give them qualifications, and with those qualifications, whether it's a level 1, level 2, NCA accredited or something like that, it can then start them to progress themselves through the education of getting better tickets, for getting into aquaculture, getting into being skippers, for being first mate, second mate, officers of the watch, engineers. It's a stepping stone into doing higher learning. Because right now, the rural sector, remote fishing locations, have nothing to aspire to. They've got no education to get them to better places. They have to go and fly back to the mainland and start a whole new life, or they have to fly from or drive from some remote part of the country to go and try to better themselves. Where do they get the money to do that? They don't have a chance in hell to leave, family whānau and move to another place to go and do a degree or something like that, because they just don't have the money. Like, the cost of living in New Zealand right now is crazy. So, in short, I think we can have a possibility of turning this monopoly of ownership back to the people, where we can have the people in control. If you don't have the qualified people on board that boat, the boat can't set sail. If the boat can't set sail because they haven't got the appropriate people, you pay the appropriate price for the crew to get onto the boat. It's a no-brainer, because right now you are just being forced to work as hard as you can for the smallest amount of money being paid. It's a rort. It's a monopoly. You guys are slaves if you're going to stick to it. Now, the ones that are opposed to this, they're the ones that want you to believe that the quota management system works. It works for them. It works for the few. I'm going to get a lot of hate for posting this, but this is the honest truth. I'm not here for the fish stocks. I'm not here for anyone catching a trophy fish from their backyard. None of that. It's fairness and transparency for all New Zealanders, because right now there is no fairness, and you're all being led to like absolute bullcacker. Anyway, peace, love and happiness.